Okay, that is us live. Hi, everyone that's here. Welcome to Elemental Cartomancy, and thank you for being here on this early Sunday morning for an extra special live that we've slotted in. As you can see, I'm joined by Ross Salerno. Hi, Ross. Good morning. How are you?
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm
How are
very
you
much
doing? Are you doing
as
all
well.
right? Yeah,
Pardon?
you doing okay? Yeah.
Yes, it's a very nice Sunday morning in Italy. It's sunny today, finally. It's been like a couple of weeks very gray. It was like winter time. So now I'm happy that it's and at the end it looks like May.
Yeah, it's the same here actually. It's the same in Scotland. We've had some rubbish weather, but this morning the sun is shining so much actually. So my windows or like my doors are along this side. I've actually had to close. You can just see it there. I've had to close the blinds down to keep the sun out. Otherwise, I'll be like an angel, like just
Same
basking in
here.
light. So there's a part of me that hates shutting out the sun because I don't know if you've been to Scotland, Ross, but we don't get very much of it. So it feels wrong to shut out the sun, but yeah, I've closed the blinds just now so as that we're not all blinded. So I want to say thank you very much for coming on with me and doing this. And thank you very much to anyone and everyone who is here. Let me just say a very quick hi to the few names that I can see in the chat just now. So I can see that Simon from the Hermit's Cave popped in to say hello. He says, I so
Hi,
wish that I could be
Simon.
here for this. I'm at a friend's barbecue until later this afternoon. So Simon won't be here with us, but he wanted to pop in and say hi and show his support. So thank you for that, Simon. Jonathan Daly is here. He's just getting ready for bed. So Jonathan is in Hawaii. So he was telling me it's like 11:30 there. It's just coming up to midnight. So they're at the completely opposite side of at the world.
11:11.
Um, yeah.
I guess.
So Jonathan's saying he's so excited to receive the new voice tarot. So you've got another backer here, who's looking forward to receiving the deck.
Thank you, John.
Almost as much as I am. I'm sure that he won't be quite as excited as me, I don't think, but almost. Jonathan's saying hi to everyone. I've got
Oh,
Red Wing here.
well, I'm
Hi,
very
Red
excited
Wing. How are you doing?
to,
Yeah, yeah. I remember you saying so. You're excited to receive it as well. So, how long have you? I'm just firing right in here, but just a random question. How long? When did you start this project, Ross?
For the new voice, I think I started about more than 4 years ago now, because
Oh wow!
the stories coming up on Instagram and Facebook reminds you every year. So I'm quite sure that I started around February or March. Um, yeah, 4 years ago.
Wow!
It was 2019, before the lockdown mess, and
Yeah.
I just tried, just having fun, trying to make a new version of the Fool tarot card, um,
Okay.
taking after the Rider Waite Coleman Smith's style. And I thought, let's see how it will look if I do it with my own style, but this time instead of the Marseille one, with because I come from the Marseille tradition as a tarologist and tarot reader.
Okay.
I Because I was initiated actually by some people who read the Marseille
Oh wow!
style, and the books that I read at that time were like a bit snobbing the Rider Waite decks, saying that they are a little bit, I don't know, like a little bit kitsch because it's too modern, blah blah blah. You know how people are like always sticking to their own religions and stuff and snobbing what is different. And then
Yeah.
I don't know, it just happened, I started to read some books about Rider Waite system, and actually information about Pamela Coleman Smith. And I thought, well, that's always happened. There are old tradition things, and then some people there to break some rules to make them in a new way. And I guess that's what happened, because at that time tarot developed. I mean, in
Mm.
1910, at the end of the 19th century, I mean, it was already very different than when people started to read the Marseille ones in the 1800s. Maybe back
Mhm.
days it was more like gambling games, you know, and
Okay.
then it became more um, about uh, sorry, I'm missing the words. Sorry.
That's
Uh,
okay.
yeah, more spiritual, and the way that we do it, like for consulting. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. So 4 years, that's amazing. I did not realize that you had been that this that, that you've been doing this for this long. So I mean that's even more you'll be even more excited to receive a labor of 4 years, you know. That's absolutely amazing. I just want to say a quick hello to Robert Wells and to Marita, who are also both here. So good morning and hi to both of you guys. I hope that no one is like up too late or anything to see this. But if you are, then an extra special hi and thank you for being here. Um, so Ross, just to let me backtrack a wee bit, because I was cheating there. I just had to ask you that question, so I did. But can you start off by just telling us a wee bit about you?
About me?
Yeah, tell us about you.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. My problem is when you ask me something, then I risk to grab other. I do sort of a monologue, and then I go out of track. So don't
That's
hesitate to
perfect.
bring me
Feel
back to the
free.
track.
No,
I
feel
am
free.
very
The
like
more you chat, the better. People don't want to hear from me; they want to hear from
I'll
you.
try to do
So
my best.
you tell us as much as you want.
So yeah, regarding me, my name is Rosario Salerno, the complete name, and I am from Italy, originally from the south. I was born in Ragusa. It's a city in Sicily, and then I just moved to the north of Italy to study at the university at the Accademia di Belle Arti, like fine arts, in the city of Bologna. And from then, like, I started to move around. After Bologna, I went to Berlin for like 7 years, and that was, as you know, like people who know the my new choice, Tarot de Marseille, it was the city that inspired me a lot. Uh, because in Berlin, as a big city, there are any kind of people around, and I came across these people who are really into tarot cards. Like, actually, one of them was my old friend from Bologna who moved also to Berlin, and she would read Tarot de Marseille for like 15 years already, and uh, and then we just started to speak about tarot. I mean, we are both from an artistic background, so tarot is art. And then she gave me as a gift a book from Alejandro Jodorowsky, The Way of Tarot, and that was my first big influence. So yeah, you see, you asked me about myself, and I'm back speaking about cards.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's perfect. Like I say, we're dying to know this kind of a stuff. Um, so yeah, I suppose that kind of answers. Like, I was wondering how you got into tarot. So it was when you were in Berlin, you met people that read tarot cards, and did you right away? Did you see it and think, oh, I need to have this. This is something I want to get into.
Yeah, as I said, it started with my friends. First, my friend
Mm.
Sylvia, who was actually, you might have seen her face on the Justice card from the New Voice, because as you know,
Okay.
New Voice Tarot, I not for each card, but for many cards, I took after like characteristics of my friends or just people that I like. And I
Mhm.
thought it was a good idea to portray them to give the cards like more specific characteristics. So Justice, aka my friend Sylvia, she gave me this book, and then she would invite me over, and we would start to, to study tarot cards together. And also, she has other friends who are into tarot. Another friend of mine is Natasha, and she
Mhm.
is my Queen of Pentacles. She also gave me my first tarot deck. It was a
Oh,
tarot deck
wow.
from um, Tarot de Marseille, Madeni, and so
Right.
they are both my tarot. How do you say, tarot initiating friends
Yeah.
who started me to the art of tarot, and I think it's a bit like my masters, even though they were friends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really amazing. So it is. So it's interesting that you started off with Tarot de Marseille, and obviously now you're kind of a veering over to, you're more, well, all cards are like fully illustrated, but like full scenic kind of a decks, like the Rider-Waite Smith. So what first prompted you to like go from like reading and you obviously designed a Tarot de Marseille deck? What was the first thing that made you think, do you know what, I'm gonna do this for um for the Rider-Waite Smith as well?
I guess it was because you know how addicting tarot can be in many ways. I mean, it's a good addiction, and we are all kind of, I guess also you, because we're here speaking on a video about tarot. So it is a thing that we love to do, and to for me as a tarot creator, after
Yeah,
I did the entire project of the Tarot de Marseille here, the new choice.
yeah,
This took me also about 3 years just to paint, and then altogether with the editing, it was also around 4 years work. So after 4 years of doing this daily, because it is like a daily, uh, it's a little ceremony for me to paint a card, because you start to think about that card. You know how it is when you read them, and then this drawing, these symbols stick into your mind. Even when you're doing something else, you think about, I don't know, the emperor position, even when I see it, for example. And yeah, it's something that it's currently in your mind, because tarot is part of the real world, and each symbol represents a moment or a phase.
mm,
And once you finish to paint one deck, which is, as I said, something that you do daily, then suddenly you don't do it anymore. And of course, you miss it. It's like at one point I was like,
yeah,
geez, like I want to keep drawing that. And I
yeah,
was like, I was aware what that means, because it's not something that you just, if you start it, I mean, I am this way, I'm done this way. If I start a project, I want to finish it. Um, I can't just start something and leave it there. If I do it, then I will feel guilty. And so before I started, I was like, wait a minute, are you really going to do this again? And and then as I said, I do the Fool card, and you can, if you want, you can show it, if you,
let me
because
see
now
if I
it's in
can
my
find it
mind
here.
that I want to show you what I mean. Like the Fool card. Um, I painted it as this guy who does parkour, jumping around buildings. This was
Okay.
the idea that it came to my mind when I thought, how would I draw the Fool card in a contemporary world? Totally contemporary. So not anymore sticking to the traditional layout of the Marseille cards, but like out of scratch, like how would I picture it if I was a director, I thought. And
Yeah.
so I did that drawing. I did this guy jumping around Berlin buildings, because of course Berlin is my favorite playground in the world.
Okay.
And it is also a punk character, just like in the Tarot de Marseille, New Choice Tarot de Marseille, because um, the fool is someone free from the establishment. He doesn't give a shit, about
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
establishment, because he's so enthusiastic. He's like a child, and he just likes being free and jumping around with his little pet. And I thought, yeah, this guy must be a parkour character.
Yeah,
And
that's so amazing. And you're right, he is. It's like he doesn't give a shit, but it's not because he's a. It's not in a bad way. He doesn't give a shit. He's just not like weighed down with all of society's expectations and stuff. It's like a completely fresh slate.
yeah, he's free.
Um,
He's free to do whatever he wants. He doesn't care about the future um, responsibilities. It's like let's say like a teenager, because teenagers do something without thinking of the consequences, even
yeah,
though the consequences might be, dangerous. They don't have that limit that actually protects us. Once we are adults, we are like, wait, if
yeah,
I do this, I'm gonna go to jail. They might go to jail because they don't have that limit. And it as everything, there is both good and bad sides of this medal. And yeah, we love the full card because it's that energy that brings us to do crazy things. And
yeah,
sometimes it ends up with new discoveries, new experiments. Sometimes it might end up in a bad way. I don't know, maybe he will break his bones jumping around. But as long as it doesn't happen, he's the freest and the happiest person on earth.
yeah. I'm trying to find him on the Instagram page, but I'm struggling. Do you know where it is? Is he near the top or near the bottom, or have you any
As I
idea?
said, it was my first card, so it's probably down
So
there.
the bottom,
Let me
right?
help
Okay.
you. I'm entering now into my profile. You can see it actually at the very beginning in a small rendering.
Ah, okay.
There is, the renderings at the top of my Instagram. There is the Fool and the World card, one beside the other one, because I was remarking that the Fool was my first tarot card that I made, and then I finished. The
Oh,
last
yeah.
one was the World. It was kind of subconscious that I did, but if you start a tarot deck, you have to start from the 0 to the 21. It could have been
Yeah,
different. I had to leave the World for the last one
yeah,
to
right.
do
I
the.
should be sharing this now, so you can kind of see. So that I'm kind of try to share this for people so that you can see. I don't know if I scroll through.
Yeah, it's very tiny. I'm sorry
You can
about
see him
that.
up in the corner. That's okay, don't worry. But it's just to give that people an idea of what it looks like, whilst you're talking about it. So no, yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I love the kind of a parkour idea to go with the full. It's fantastic. So it is. Um, Brilliant. Um, can I ask what when you created this deck, what type of media did you use? Like artistically, what type of technique did you use to do your deck?
For the new voice, I completely made it with an iPad program. Like,
Oh wow.
unlike the new choice, the new choice I made it from real paper.
Okay.
I drew them with the pencil, and then I inked them, and then I painted them with watercolor, as you probably already know. And then,
Ah,
of course, I
beautiful.
made it printing it. For the new voice, technology in the meanwhile developed, and so my wallet, and so I had the possibility to get an iPad, and that's why I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this project, this time I want to give it a chance to technology to lead me. Let's explore, let's become. Uh, let's learn how to do this, because I didn't know how to draw on iPad. It was very new when I started in 2019. I think I got it like the previous year. So I was still learning the tools. And you can also notice how the style developed from the first cards that I drew. I mean, at the end of the deck, I re-edited the the previous cards. Like the Fool at the very
Yeah.
beginning was looking different. And then of course, at the end
Mhm.
of the deck, I had to um, correct the previous ones. Otherwise, you could totally see that they were older, like 4 years older.
Right, okay. How many cards did you have to redo? Was it a fair few or was it just a couple?
Not sure, maybe around 10 or 12.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
like
that's not too
maybe
bad, I
more,
suppose.
because the very first ones, the colors, I was trying to emulate a little bit the watercolor effect at the beginning using the tool like
Okay,
watercolor brush. But then
right,
after drawing, I noticed that, it was visibly not handmade. I mean, not, it is handmade with an Apple Pencil, but what I mean, it's not real paint.
mm,
So the more you use the tools, the more you realize, wait, I can blush it better this way. The light effect will be better that way. So why would I still try to fake the watercolor effect? It was something automatically, like a process that learning how to use the tools, I realized it
mhm.
was looking better with more contrast, with more shading. And so at the
Yeah.
end, I had to fix the first ones. And I think it looks better now.
I think it looks fantastic, and it's still authentically you. Like, I can look at the deck and I can see that it's your style, you know, like, because I've kind of got an idea of your style just from looking at like the new choice. So
Mm.
it's still very much Rosario Salerno. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
So I think
it's
it's brilliant.
it would be weird the opposite. I hope, actually, that's another reason why I did the tarot, the second project, because you learn so much. Also, I mean, drawing is always a process that you learn. It's like comic authors. If you have ever read a comic which is going on for many years, like there are many anime who and authors from anime who have been drawing. I don't know, Dragon Ball. It's one very famous.
Right.
That's
Okay.
been on for years. So if you check the
Mm,
first numbers and then the last ones, it seems from a different person because it's been years that
right.
this author has been drawing and evolving. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Honing their
definitely,
craft.
huh?
I just said honing their craft or developing themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, drawing tarot card decks allowed me to get better with my drawings because it's training every day. You have an excuse. Yeah, before tarot, you just had to think, okay, what am I going to draw today? Any kind of figure. And then with the tarot, you have to do every day. You have like, how do you say, like homework, and you know that you are going to do each card. So you will have to think about everything to solve that problem, to show that concept, to show that phase of life. And that's why it's an addicting process, I said. And after the first deck, I thought, I'm going to do it again because I missed that research, everyday research.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a wee bit more about your kind of you and art. So obviously you've used like a kind of a more digital style to do the new voice, and Marita said modern methods for a modern deck, which I think is quite nice.
Yeah.
Um, you said you'd use like kind of a pencil, then pen and watercolor for the new choice. But what other kind of art media do you work in? I know that you teach sculpture, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I teach at school. Yeah, my formation was actually, I started at the school with sculpture since my high school. So since I was 14, I I attended this school of art, which is like a
Uh-huh.
technical school where you learn a different kind of. I mean, you can choose your topic, your subject. There were like, for example, jewelry, or there were ceramic. And then there was
Okay.
sculpture discipline, and I chose sculpture. Actually, it was kind of. Uh, that's another long story. Do you want to hear it? I will try to summarize
Sure.
it. about
Sure,
my.
go for it. Yeah.
It is about destiny, so I think it's interesting. So I was 13 and I just finished my, here we have like an average school, media school. I don't know how to translate it. Like from the elementary primary school to the, before the high school, you have these 3 years of average. And
Okay.
I was, I did say when you don't pass for 1 year, they, you don't pass because you don't have enough. Because I was very depressed when I was a teenager, for a
Right.
couple of problems. And so this depression, yeah, I just didn't pass the last year. And this was actually good because I had the time to think what to do after. Because if I did pass, my father wanted me to start to work immediately. Because when I told him I wanted to be an artist, he was like, you know, unfortunately, my father was a little bit close to mind at the time. He was like, art is for nothing. Like, you need to get a real job. He was scared of the art school because he would say that it was the junkie school. Well,
Oh
they
wow.
just drugs, all these cliches from a little village. And so I'm grateful that I missed that year because then on the next year, my mother brought me secretly, like behind my father's shoulders. She brought me to the art school and said, "Okay, I want to support you. Let's go to the school of art." And it was late already. It was like September, so it was too late to apply. But we still tried. We went to the school, and the secretary said, "I'm so sorry. It's very late. Like school starts next week. We don't have any placement." I really wanted to do ceramic, so vases, and also sculptures, like clay sculptures.
Mhm.
And so I was very disappointed at that moment. And my mom was also looking at me like, "Oh, we tried our best, maybe next year." And right before we were going, turning our shoulders, just going away, I will never forget. There was this lady from the office holding a coffee machine, like a coffee Italian machine on a tray.
Yeah.
She was probably bringing the coffee to the office to people. And she said, "Wait a minute, wasn't there like the placement that got free in the sculpture class?" She just stood right and she heard this woman turning me down. And if it wasn't for that coffee, ready at the right moment, I would have just left. But these things sometimes take seconds. So if the coffee machine didn't work that moment, that lady wouldn't have come. And so when she said there is a placement in the sculpture department, I was like, wow, really? Like right in the sculpture department. That's what I wanted to do.
Wow.
And so yeah, I applied, and the next week I started to study sculptures. And since ever since that, I never stopped, because then the school took 5 years, and then after that I applied for the university, also sculpture subject at the fine art.
Wow.
And then, yeah, now I'm here
That's an
still doing.
amazing story. Where
It was a
where
long
would we be
story,
without
but
coffee, eh?
yeah, coffee saved my life.
It saves mine every day, so I can relate. No, but there's a saying from, I think it's Joseph Campbell, and it's something like "Where you stumble, therein lies your treasure." And I think that sums up what you've described, because you obviously you're talking about like you went through a bit of a hard time, and I think we don't. So in Scotland, we don't have that kind of a middle school, but I think in the US and stuff, it's called middle school. So
Okay.
we in Scotland we just have primary and secondary school,
Yeah.
and then like university if you go that far. But um, yeah, like just when you describe like the way that it worked, that's exactly what's happened. It's when you were struggling, it's when you've stumbled. Do you know what I mean? That's when you've found
Yeah.
your thing. Such
It
such
was
an
it was,
inspirational story.
it was fate, when these things happen, because if that coffee machine wasn't ready at the right moment, I would have probably went to work somewhere, like normal job. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe, yeah, I would
Oh,
work. For that, I was working in a little supermarket, as a 14 years old, just, like to make some money moving milk from one place to another one. Perhaps, I mean, perhaps I would have returned to the art. I'm sure that sometimes when it's your destiny, I would have done it later probably. But in that moment, doing the right school was the perfect thing that could have happened.
yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
And it is funny to think about. Like I do it all the time. Like, what would have happened if dot dot dot? I hadn't met my husband when I met him, or where would I be right now? It is really funny to think about. Um, so if we kind of come back to the new voice, um,
yeah,
oh, actually, no. Before I do that, I've found on Instagram, you've put some posts of some of your sculpture work, and I just wanted to let everyone see some of your work, if that's okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I will let everyone know there's nudity on this just before I start flicking through. I'm sure no one will mind, but like just a wee heads up that there is some nudity here. So I mean, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Like just to think that you can do that, is just it's amazing. It's outstanding.
Yeah, this is actually a quite old work. So, when you look at
Right.
old works, you're like, it's old. I am better now. But because, no, really, this was a sculpture that was in a basement for a long time because,
Oh
as
wow.
I said, when I made this in Bologna when I was studying. So it's probably from 2007, and it was uncompleted, unfinished until last year because it was I fired it. This is clay, it's
Uh-huh.
ceramic, and
Yeah.
yeah, this is the main material that I use to make sculptures. I love modeling it from nothing. I just put clay on a metal structure, like a skeleton
Right.
that I make first, and then I put the clay, and then I have to cast it. And this was
Uh-huh.
quite complicated to cast because there are many, I don't know how to explain in English, many sottosquadra. Like, yeah, you have to cut the parts and cast it singularly and then rebuild
Okay.
it.
And then work it together.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so after I fired it for the first time, it was not shiny as you see it with the glaze. And there was no basement because that was another work that I had to do it to
Right.
make it on its feet. And so I just it was the end of my studying, and I put this in the basement of a friend of mine's because then I moved to Berlin, so I couldn't carry it with me. I didn't even know if I had the chance to finish it in Berlin before I left because I didn't know if I was going to have a studio. So this was resting in this friend of mine's basement for all
Basement.
these years until I moved back to Italy. Well, I moved back 7 years ago already, but then I went
Mm.
to this friend because she moved to Milan. So that's why the sculpture moved as well from one basement to another one,
Oh
and it
wow.
actually survived because it might have broken. It might have
Yeah.
died,
Yeah.
but it didn't. So when I went to visit her, I was like, "Oh, that sculpture is still alive. Maybe I will take it back and finish it." And so I did. After all these years, I glazed it and I fired it again. Then I made the basement, and finally I displayed it last year together with my latest things.
Oh
But it
wow.
is actually older than, yeah. So
I
sometimes
just
it
think
happens.
it almost take like see the detail on it, Ross. Like I know you said like it's an old piece of work and you're better now, but like I mean, the detail takes your breath away. Like when you look at you can see like the clavicle. Do you know what I mean? And the neck. The tendons in the neck. like the muscles in the arms and stuff like that, like the back, like everything is so it's absolutely stunning. So it is. It's such an amazing thing to be able to do. Um, See, I'm not the most artistic person, so when I see something like a really good piece of art, that I really get kind of a like sucked into it. I think it's amazing. So it is. So no, it's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful work that you do.
Thank you.
Um, so taking it back, then let's go back to talk about the new voice. So can you tell me about have you got any favorite cards in the new voice tarot that you want to talk to us about, or any particular cards you want to tell us about?
Yeah, it's hard to respond because I sometimes I wonder also which card I prefer above another one, and there are
Mhm,
many that I like the result, of course. Actually,
mhm,
each of them is important to me. Maybe yeah, there are some that the result, because if I didn't like one, I would just keep doing it until I like it. I don't want to
yeah,
publish a deck with a card that I don't like, so maybe that's why
of
it's difficult
course,
to
yeah,
respond. But yeah, I like many of them because I'm proud of the
mhm,
result. Of course, I'm not saying they're the best drawings in the world. There are many flaws as well. But yeah, the thing about drawing tarot cards is also, yeah, it surprises you as well because you have a certain, let's say, a certain expectation of what you are going to represent. And
mhm,
you know that the card must speak about those meanings. It's not only about your taste, your personal taste. It must be speaking. That's why I called it new voice. um, it must speak to the people about those concepts, and so it's really important what you're gonna choose, how it's gonna look. Okay, I'll try to respond. I'll try to answer. Maybe one of my favorite is, I would say, the Emperor. The
okay,
emperor is a leatherman. I pictured him as a leatherman.
yeah.
So
So the Emperor's right dead
yeah,
center
it's
of
right
this,
there.
isn't he? That's the Emperor.
So yeah, sorry if
Hopefully,
it's
people
nice.
watching can see that okay, but he is probably somewhere else. But whilst I can actually see him, yeah. So
Yeah,
tell us
so as
about
a
the
kid,
Emperor.
it's this yeah, sexy man. I like sexy men, so and
Oh well.
we know that uh, the emperor is, I mean, it's supposed to be someone stable, someone sure. It's about security, it's about power, it's about stability. But what I like of the symbols that there are in the emperor card, and I'm not only speaking about my emperor, but all the emperor characteristics, he has this Venus scepter. I mean, the scepter is
Mhm.
in the shape of the Ankh, the
Uh-huh.
Egyptian symbols that became also the Venus cross, they call it, and it's also the female symbol. So this is a contrast that I love about symbols. The most
Mhm.
stable and masculine maybe card, about power. Somebody could say about patriarchism. you know,
Yeah, patriarchy. Yeah.
his scepter is the Venus cross. So, it makes him, because I believe that every individual has both feminine and masculine characteristics. We are humans. We have a father and a mother, and um, I mean, it's the two polarities. So they are all inside of us, and
Mm.
it's fine to have more characteristics of one rather than the other one, or it's even fine if it's merged, if it's balanced in one person. It Important is to be aware of this. I am aware that I'm a man, but I also have yeah, let's say motherly characteristics or female characteristics, and I'm in peace with it. And it's
Mhm.
important to realize that because I love myself also for my feminine characteristics. And they don't bother me. And maybe it's not for everyone like that, when there is this unbalance. And people don't accept their all characteristics of their persona. So I
Yeah.
like this card because I try to merge this, to show this meaning. So you can be an emperor and still still grab your opposite, how do you say, yeah, your feminine characteristics. Even if you're a man, it's totally fine with that, and it's not gonna
Yeah.
take anything away from that, from your masculinity or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. That's absolutely fantastic. Do you know, I had never really I'd never thought of the Ankh, how close it is to to the Venus symbol. That's
Yeah, that's why I love tarot. There are so many symbols, and sometimes they're just there, uh, on your face, but you don't see them, and that you discover every time you read, you discover more and more things. Isn't that incredible? Like,
yeah.
it's something that we watch every day. I don't know if you watch them every day, maybe not. I don't watch it every day, but what I mean is, like, you do so many readings in many years, and then you learn something new, and you are
Mhm.
surprised. It's like, wow, I've never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We've got a question from the chat. I just wanted to very quickly touch on the
Yeah.
chat because we've got a couple of comments. So but there's a few people from Scotland here, which is lovely to see. I can see that
Hello.
Anne Marie Slee is here from Fife. Uh, let's see.
Yeah,
Red
let's.
Wing, not far from me in Edinburgh. So Red Wing's in Edinburgh. And then Marita, I don't know if you told us whereabouts you are. Um, anyway, Anne Marie had asked. She says King of Pentacles, but I think she means the Knight. Is that you in the Knight of Pentacles? Let me see if I can actually get, because I'm sure there's a
She
picture of the
means
Knight. But
one
here
from
we
the
go.
choice. This one. No, it's not
Mm,
me actually. I can see the
okay.
resemblance now that you let me notice, but I think it's, I like my hairstyle because it's always messy and it's like a sculpture, and so I like I like to do it. Probably, it's very subconscious when you when you draw. Normally, all your drawings, whether you like it or not, are gonna look at like a little bit like you, because they're my sons and my daughters, I'd like to say, and they, even though I don't want to do the resemblance, they're gonna look like me. Maybe because I don't know, I look my face on the mirror every day, and we know our characteristics much better than other people's. So yeah, no, the answer
Yeah.
is I am not the Knight of
Okay.
Pentacles, but thank you. I
Okay.
take compliment as well
Interesting.
because he's a nice guy.
Yeah, yeah, he's a very handsome guy. I had wondered that myself actually. I had seen the resemblance, and wondered myself if that was inspired by yourself. Are there any cards that you have, you've used yourself as the inspiration for them,
Yeah,
like
actually, there is
deliberately?
one card when I portrayed myself, and I did it in the only card that I wanted to. I don't know. I thought it was fun to put myself in the death card because,
Oh wow.
yeah, I was like, who am I going to portray for death? Maybe people are not gonna take that very nicely. So I thought, okay, let's be self-ironic and put in trouble. So yeah, I am the guy who you can see me from behind. It's the guy who's opening the door, and it's me with also some of my tattoos are there because somehow they would make sense with the meaning. Like, I have
Okay.
here a tattoo written in Greek. I don't know if you can see it.
What I'll do is I'll remove the share screen for the moment and I'll make you bigger so that we
Okay,
can see you.
like this tattoo, it's in Greek and it says Elpis.
Help us,
In
yeah.
Greek, Elpis means hope.
Oh,
And yeah, and I think it's a word that with the tarot card makes sense as well. Um,
yeah.
so, but this was not meditated before. It just happened when I put myself there, and I was like, oh, of course, I have my tattoo there. And I was like, wow, yeah, actually, I'm going to do that because it's another symbol that it can be useful in the death card, because hope, it's
Yeah.
what we have until we die, isn't it?
Yeah,
We have
absolutely,
just
absolutely.
before the gate of,
Oh, I
of the.
found it. I found it. Here we go. Let me just share again because I've managed to find the death card.
Yeah, don't
Here
worry.
we go. Oh yeah, and you can see your tattoo there.
Yeah, so it's a bit subtle,
Wow.
if people don't open their eyes, they're not gonna see it. Also, you have to know how to read Greek alphabet to understand. So
Yeah.
maybe it's not for everyone. And I like that as well. I like that there are some mysterious symbols that they are not there just by chance, or maybe they are because it was a chance that I wrote this here. And it makes well, it's never a chance. Everything is for a reason. I like to believe that. So yeah, maybe I had to get this tattoo in order to make this tarot card more sensible.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And I'm a Scorpio, so I'm all for like putting yourself in the death card. That speaks to me loud and clear. So it does. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I
But
love how the death figure here, it
yeah,
almost looks like a child at Halloween chapping the door,
yeah,
doesn't
it
it?
is.
Like,
I got inspired from that. I don't know if I
right.
was watching a movie with Halloween because that's how I created this deck. Like every day something happens to me, and then while I'm watching a movie maybe, and I see that scene and I'm like, oh my god, this is just the feeling of when the tarot card pulls off. And yeah, like someone knocking at your door, because that's what death does one day, it just knocks and actually it
Yeah.
opens. And then you're like, oh, is that moment? And looking at the traditional tarot card, I like it because there is this, I think it's like a pope or a basco, we don't know. It's like a priest.
Yeah.
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 And it seems that I think in the tradition, this was like praying to the plagues,
Right.
because
Okay.
I don't know what it gives you the impressions, but the death card reminds me middle age plagues. All these people dead behind, no matter if they are kings or if they are children. We see all kinds of people in this card if we look at very close. And
Yeah.
and the rose, of course, symbol of purity and innocence, maybe, and reborn. Also, the sunrise behind, or someone
Yeah.
says that it's actually a sunset. So it's but sunset and sunrise just follow each other. So it means transformation. It means renewal. It means all these things. It's behind
Yeah.
that tower that looks a little bit like the towers from the moon card,
Mm. Yep.
like the tower. And in my card, I thought, okay, I'm gonna make this the gate of the house, because
Yeah.
that's how she comes. She comes behind your gate and she said,
Yep.
"Hey, I'm here before the sunset or before the sunrise, whatever. It can happen
Mhm.
anytime." And then I put also this. You see the rug on the floor with a
The
welcome.
rug. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, that was another idea that came into my mind. Just visiting a friend, and there was this welcome rug, and I thought, wow, if I put that in the death card, it would be upside down. So it means that whenever you have a reading and the card is upside down, you have this new written welcome. What welcome? Maybe a change. Yeah,
Yeah. That's so clever. You even thought about it from a point of view of the card reversing. So
yeah.
amazing, so it
So
is.
there are many, many symbols you can see that I try to stick with the traditional. So I am wearing a rosary here
Yep.
in the card. I mean, a little
Mhm.
bit because my name is Rosario, which means rosary, but also because the
Okay.
figure in the original card we see it's a Pope. So the Pope is
Yep.
praying death not to kill the children or himself or anyone. So praying, I'm not praying in this card, but I put the element that reminds you praying, so the rosary. Um,
Yeah.
and also, I have a tattoo that I don't really have. You see, in my arm, there
Mhm.
is no red um, sale, but I put the
Yeah,
red
the
sale
boat.
present in the original card.
Yeah, we
There is
see it in the background, don't we?
a little boat
In the
sailing.
background here.
Exactly. So I wanted all the elements to be in the card because you might need them for your traditional way to read them. I also put
Yeah.
another little boat on the floor. Actually, that was I put it before, and then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna tattoo it also my arm. So there are actually two sails, two boats. I didn't know whether it was a
Yeah.
good idea to remove the previous one, but then I just kept them both. I thought, fuck it, like let's keep them both.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think it's really cute. You've done a fantastic job of so sometimes when you can see decks where they pack lots of symbolism into a card and it can be quite overbearing. It can be quite a lot. You know, the card feels really heavy.
Yeah.
There's lots of symbolism in your card, but you've managed to do it in such a way where it doesn't overpower the card. The card is like perfect. You could glance at that and it's a beautiful piece of art, and you know you can take from it what you need. You know you've managed to kind of like you've got that balance really well. If you know what I mean. So no, I think it's perfect.
It's the fruit of a very long process, as I said. For some cards, it took me even just one day, but for other sorry, some other cards, such as this one, I think this one for it took me around 1 month to do it entirely.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had to think about so many. You know, when you start to think, how am I going to represent the death card in a new way? Because it's a person riding a horse. I mean, it's not a person, it's a skeleton riding a horse in the Middle
Yeah.
Ages. Like you really have to think, how do I do do I make that contemporary? It's such a challenge, and it's also what it keeps me addicted to this because challenges are addicting. Like when you're like,
Mm,
how am I going to succeed this challenge? And it gives you endorphins. You know what you feel good because
yeah.
you don't panic, but you know what I mean. It's like, how am I going to fix this and to please all the people that need to read the cards with a contemporary idea, something so traditional such as death concept.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, I think you've done a beautiful job of it. And Anne Marie says, and I agree, the horse is hilarious.
Yeah,
She
it's
likes
funny
fun with the
because
horse.
the kid is funny. Like I love the result of this card as well because we have all been there, even though I'm not British or I mean not from the UK. Of course, now since I mean Halloween has been already something that we also do, like Christmas.
Yeah.
It became global. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, there was no Halloween. We just had
Okay.
Carnival.
Wow.
And yeah, so that kid that wants to scare us, it's funny and it's also freaky when you're a kid. And yeah, that was
Yeah.
the feeling that I wanted to give. Like death can be scary, but if you take it not too seriously, which is difficult, of course, but we should not take it seriously. Even death, this is what I try to put in this deck. I am someone who can really go down in to the doom. You know what I mean? Like doom and gloom. I have
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
very negative moments, but when it comes to show it to the other people, I want to show always the bright side of myself, not because I want to fake it, but just because
Mm,
we all have down moments. But tarot can be such a manipulative, even tool, and if we um, don't show this bright, fun side, it can be very like dragging people down. Yeah, this is something that I wanted to explain why I snobbed for a long time the Pamela Coleman Smith's deck. I want to call it with her name because she drew it, not the
Mm.
freaking rather wait, man, who stole it from her for years. Yeah, did you know that for years nobody knew that it was drawing from a woman because, of course, she was a woman and nobody cared at
Mm.
the time. She died lonely and crazy, and she never learned that her deck became the most used in the world. Like it's a little bit the same sad story of Vincent van Gogh, you know, like nobody bought a painting of him for his entire life. Everybody would think that it was horrible paintings, and now he's one of the most famous of all times. So
Mm.
sorry, as I said, I speak about something and constantly.
That's
What I mean
okay.
is, like,
That's
I snubbed the cards of Pamela Coleman Smith for a long time because I thought they were sad.
mm.
I thought because they are sad, you know. Look at the Ten of Swords. It's so heartbreaking to see it. And if
Yeah.
you empathize with her, you're like, what has she been through, this woman, from the beginning of the 20th century? These
Yeah.
cards are so sad. And I wanted also, yeah, that's why I respect her, even though I don't know her. We know her from her work, and I thought I have to make the if I have to remake a Rider Waite Coleman Smith deck, I just want to make it in a way that she, I don't know, what would she make it if she was born now at our age instead of the, you know, after
Yeah.
patriarchy, after all these awful times for women in the last centuries. So I wanted to make a deck with her vision, but in a finally positive vision.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think there's lots of us that really resonate with what you're saying about Pamela Coleman Smith. Thankfully now we know and we've got an appreciation for her and for the work that she did and the person that she was. But you're absolutely right, and it's really interesting to hear you talk about like looking at her art, how must she have been feeling at that time? Because I'll be honest, that's not an angle that I'd looked at it from before. But you're right, it's really sad when you look at cards like the Three of Swords, the Nine of Swords, Ten of Swords, just some of these
Of
cards
course.
that
I, the
is
Eight of Swords
quite,
is I think this is the vibration, and
mm,
I'm getting goosebumps while I'm telling you. That's why also I also like tarot cards because all the people who go through the creation of a tarot card, it's a way to empathize all together because we have all been through, yeah, Eight of Swords, for example, in our lives.
mm,
There are so many people feeling trapped. And when you
yep,
paint that, it's like, yeah, this is the 10.
the 10,
So
yeah,
as you can see, I wanted to be okay. Also, it's a sad card because it means the end of suffering. And
mm,
yeah, some people mistake it just for suffering. It's not suffering, it's the end of suffering. And it's important.
mhm,
So that sky behind in the Pamela, in the original one, the sunrise behind is just
yep,
like in the death card.
yep,
It's
yep,
like it cannot be dark forever. Don't worry, things are gonna get better after all these wounds.
mm,
In my version, as you can see, I didn't want to stab him real swords. That would have been, imagine like if I wanted to do it the same way but contemporary. Like it would be so,
I know,
I don't know,
I know,
someone with knives. Would be terrible.
yeah,
So I thought, okay, let's put a tattoo there. It's going to be more fun, but it's still, tattoos nowadays, it's something very popular because people like to express themselves through art. And so they put this art on their skin, but they buy them from tattoo artists, basically. Um, so I thought, okay, this is a good way in this tarot deck. I didn't want to do this in each card because it will be a cliche if each card I um, solved the problem just with tattoos on people's skin. But for
yeah,
this card, I thought it was appropriate. I thought, okay, let's just tattoo those 10 swords on his back. And maybe he will be showing us all these sadness and pain. So I put him on this sort of shore. Can you see
Mhm.
the liquid? So it's also like the real character on the shore, but it's seen from above.
Mhm.
So, and I thought, okay, that will give also like a refreshing, maybe a refreshing feeling, when you lie down on the beach, right on the shore.
Yeah.
You're exhausted, but then you already feel this freshness, and it's like, oh God, finally I can just lie down here, after all the trouble. And I wanted to
Yeah.
remark this hope also with the sunrise tattooed on his skin. And on the other
Yeah.
side, I put these stars because the stars are hope. So it recalls a
Oh.
little bit the
Mhm.
star tarot card. And yeah, the hope that you have after all this sorrow moment.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Were you inspired by the tattoo tarot when you
I have to
drew
say
that?
I was. Yes, you recognize, certainly you recognize the style.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love
Yeah.
that. I have it in my
Yeah.
small
Same.
collection. I don't have such a big collection of tarot. I think I have around 10 decks, but for me
Okay.
it's already a lot because I'm very
Yeah.
selective. But that tarot deck, I love it. I think she was super smart to make it that way. And yeah, I could say that this is a quote. Like, yeah, I wanted to quote the tattoo
Yeah.
tarot deck, and
Yeah. That's
that
nice.
was
It's beautiful.
the right layout for this back.
Yeah. One of the other cards you mentioned there was the Eight of Swords, and I'm pretty sure that's near the top.
It's near
I
the end.
should be able to
Yeah, it's
find that.
100%. Yeah, that is also like I'm very happy of the result of the Eight of Swords. There it is. And if you are a fan of cinema, like specific director, maybe you can recognize some elements, but it's a very specific one. So uh, don't feel bad if you can't recognize it because it's not Steven Spielberg. it, it
Yeah, I wouldn't know what cinema reference this is.
like the floor, it's a very specific floor from a TV series from the 90s.
Right.
So
Okay.
I like to play with memories as well. And, I have
Yeah.
passions. I love David Lynch. David Lynch is this director from the Twin Peaks series. Do you know that?
Oh, okay. I've heard
And
of it, but I've not seen it.
maybe you're younger than me. So maybe, yeah, because it's from the 1990. Maybe you were a child.
Yeah, I
uh,
was born in 1988, so yeah, I
yeah,
probably wouldn't have been watching that kind of thing in the 90s.
yeah, so it's this TV series, very mysterious, and the floor, this floor, floor, comes from that. It's a quote to the film, and also this woman character. It's because I was rewatching. It's called Lost Highways, the title of the movie
Mm,
of David Lynch. Lost Highways. It's a beautiful,
right.
mysterious movie, one of my favorite.
Okay.
And there is this woman looking just like this one, and she is at home and she's living with this weird husband. And when I was drawing it, I thought, okay, let's make the Eight of Swords looking like the character from, also because she's in Los Angeles. And I put this
Mhm.
one. If you, I mean, people from Los Angeles probably recognize the buildings in the mirror. It's very
In the
teeny
mirror.
tiny, but it's not just one building. I did this building from, it's like, I guess I don't know what's the name of, but it looks like very representative of LA. So
Right.
I
Okay.
I put, instead of the castle, like in the original card, she has a castle behind,
Yeah.
which means,
Yeah.
yeah,
Up in the hills.
castle is like if she just walks away because her legs are free, they're not tied up. And also
Mm.
the swords cage, it's open actually. In many decks,
Yeah.
the cage is closed, but it's not. I think these are important details. She
Yeah. Definitely.
she could do it. She has free legs, and yeah, also that she's not tight. That in a very hang way. She just has to find the courage, and she can set herself free. So in my version, of course, I tied up her in a more modern way, like in a shibari session. I liked
Right.
this
Okay. Nice.
element as well. Why not? Uh, as well as in the Hanged Man, if you remember.
Hmm.
Also, in my tarot, the new choice tarot, I tied them up in a shibari way, bondage.
Okay.
But hers, you can see her legs are also free, and in the mirror, you can see that the eighth sword
Yeah.
is right on her hand, and she can easily cut the ropes. So just to remark
Yeah.
that thing, if it wasn't clear yet, she's got the power. She just has to find
Mm.
the courage, and then she will
Yep.
be ready to go towards that brilliant and shining future just in front of her that we couldn't see unless there was not the mirror. The mirror allows
Yeah.
us to see the bright future that is waiting for her, the city, instead of this dark room with the Twin Peaks floor, which is actually in the TV series. It's the floor of the Black Lodge. So it's not again, it's not just a pretty floor that I like. In the movie, it's like a limbo. When you are close to death, they get into this Black Lodge, and there is this floor, which is actually kind of, this floor is kind of scary, I think,
Right.
because
Okay.
yeah. So I wanted to add these elements of the cinema that I like to make it more interesting. And I think because also those are like symbols, this zigzag floor instead of the waters of the original card, I thought would give me more the feeling of feeling trapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
It's absolutely brilliant. So it is.
if I speak too much, just interrupt me, Chris.
No, you're no. Please, please, by all means, you're not speaking too much at all. No, I was just going to say, I'm like one of the things I've not really said yet, but it's one of the things that I most admire about the new choice and about this deck as well is your use of color. I think when I did my walkthrough of the new choice tarot, I used the words wizard with color or something like that because I think the way that you use color is amazing. And I was seeing if I could quickly find it there, but I can't. But particularly, I think it was the High Priestess in the New Choice Tarot.
I can find it for you.
Just like really, like I talked about this just recently. That absolutely stunning, stunning use of color, and you
Yeah,
can really see it in this deck as well.
the colors are
Um,
everything in tarot decks. I think it's very important. I like decks with very bright colors
yeah,
because it's also communication, the language of colors, and each color actually means something. I mean, okay, here is she.
oh, let me make you bigger. There we go. Oh yeah, there she is. See just the it's just beautiful, the colours in the dress, the colours in the veil behind her.
Yeah, this
Absolutely
was
stunning.
a dress, a specific dress. Also here, because I love the world of fashion, and
Yeah.
she is actually wearing a bustier similar to wait, I can't recall the name right now. When you have to recall a name and other names come into your mind.
Yeah.
He passed the fashion designer that I'm speaking about died I think last year. French, give me the name. um, it's in the tip of my tongue. Uh, anyway, it's a
It'll come back
bustier
to you.
specific fashion designer. Um, I can't recall it right now.
If
And
anyone in the chat knows, then pop it in the chat.
yeah, maybe they know it.
Yeah.
Ask. Wait, Mugler. Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
Thierry Mugler. So wait, I put the card away. Stupid me. But yeah, because and this is a characteristic actually. If we get back speaking about the new voice, because in the new Choice Star de Marseille, the dresses were, yes, modern, but still limited. Like they were still sticking at the middle-age costumes. But in the new voice, I thought, fuck that. I'm gonna dress them as much just like I want them. They don't have to be medieval style anymore, because this is not a Marseille deck.
Yeah,
And
exactly. So you can really branch out and you're
so yeah, many of the dresses and costumes of the cards are from fashion designers, not because I copied them, but because I love them and I want to celebrate them.
yeah.
So this is Thierry Mugler's bustier, and the original one was like metal or shining
Oh
like
wow.
metal. But for her,
Yeah.
of course, I put the traditional colors that you can see in the traditional, because you know that for the new, both for the new Choice Star de Marseille and for the new voice, I stick at the palette that original cards have, because I think it's
Right.
important. It's important that La Force has a red cape.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
everything is important with the colors. And yeah, just to answer your question, you said you like
Yeah.
the colors of my decks. Yes, I could never
Yeah.
change them, because each color means mm, many symbols of,
Yeah. I mean something important.
like, his sword must be red because he's the king of swords, and the red is active, and he's a speaker, and it represents his tongue, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So I couldn't do that another color.
Yeah. I love that. Wow. I could talk to you about, colours and the use of colours and what it symbolises all day, so I could. Let me just go back to the chat a wee bit because
Yeah,
we've had some
yeah.
more people pop in
Whatever
and I
you
want to say
say.
hello.
Yeah.
So uh, Ramon from Moonscarab is here, and Ramon lives in Philadelphia. So it's it was 6:40 a.m. in the morning. It's now 6:50 when he wrote that. So good morning, Ramon, and thanks very much for being here. Masha is here from
Here,
Australia. So it's 8:42 p.m. in Australia where Masha is.
I
Let's
Masha.
get Joe. Hi, Joe. How are you doing? Joe points out we are in the Eight of Swords decking right now. What pretty colours? Absolutely, yeah. And Masha is agreeing. Rosario's use and choices of colour and the new choice are delicious. And she's also all for the use of fashion and tarot. So I think there's lots of us that can't wait for the new voice. Can't wait for it to come out. There's a particular card that it was the first one that really drew me in to new voice. It was, or maybe it wasn't, but it was the first one that I remember commenting on Instagram. And that is, let me just share my screen again. Oops. Here we go. So the Six of Pentacles in your deck.
Yeah. You know who that
I
is?
just who's that?
I think yeah, I wrote it there. It's not, this is a
Oh,
portrait to my brother.
oh wow. Oh, so you've depicted your amazing brother sharing his music with the world.
Yeah, my brother
Beautiful.
is a drummer, and yeah, during the making of the decade, I told you I portrayed some people that I admire and I liked. I thought that they would give
Yeah.
more character to the cards. So this was also a card that I had to think about a little bit, because you know that Six of Pentacles is about generosity, exchange, also a little bit about
Yeah.
power, because we know that if you have money, you have a power,
Hmm.
and especially if you have the money and other people don't have money.
Oh, there's your brother. I hope he doesn't
Yeah,
mind me putting him on YouTube.
yeah, maybe he's available, or maybe he's just playing somewhere, because he always plays at weekends. And here I chose
Wow.
to put, and this is a specific square as well, if you like to hear the story. This is a
Mm,
square, the main square in, I think it was Warsaw. I don't remember exactly now. It's a city
right.
in
Okay.
Poland. And because my brother is he plays drummer for, sorry, he plays drums for both bands, but also sometimes he goes around the squares just for fun, and he is a
Uh,
busker as
yeah.
well. And so because in the new voice, that a lot of cards I put them in real locations. So this was
Uh,
this square in Poland where he went, and I thought, okay, this could be a perfect, because yeah, it's about generosity. So I thought, let's do not like this powerful person with money, but just someone who has something to give. In this case, he's giving his performance, music
yeah.
performance, which is also valuable. And also, the drums were perfect for the shining uh, pentacles. And then I
Yeah.
thought, he's giving the music fun, and he's getting in exchange actual money um,
Yeah.
from this
Absolutely.
innocent, let's say, because it's a little girl, maybe she doesn't have that much, maybe her mom just gave it to her, but it doesn't matter. She's giving her gratitude. She's exchanging with something valuable, her gratitude to the person who's giving this six pentacles. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be kind of confusing who is the powerful person in this card, because it's not anymore just the poor and the rich. They're both poor and rich at the same time, but because it's about exchanging what you can
Yeah.
offer. So I thought this was
Exactly.
what
That's
I wanted to give to this card.
yeah. I, d- I think it's so clever and amazing the way that you've done it. And this was what I'd said when I first saw it, because the sixes in general, not just the Six of Pentacles, but for me, sixes, I mean, they stem from the lovers. It's like they're cards of harmony. There needs to
Yeah,
be some sort of,
yeah,
exchange there. So
totally.
the Six of coins, or the Six of Pentacles, and the and the traditional Smith weight deck, it doesn't feel like there's much of an exchange happening. It just feels like it's like one person lording over the others and deciding how
Totally.
much he's given. And I mean, generosity is an amazing thing, but there is just something that it can feel slightly icky about having that hierarchy. Whereas here, you can definitely see the exchange. Do you know what I mean? You can see that. Like the energy that he's given to his performance, and to her, she's obviously enjoyed it, and then she's given something back. I just think that it's so amazing, and like I say, it was one of the things that first drew me in. So it was
Yeah,
seeing this card. So yeah, it's
yeah.
beautiful.
If I may say just another thing, because making
Hmm.
this sort of work, um, at one point I was also like, wait, but maybe, because it is also important to have the negativity in the cards. I'm not saying that it must
Yeah,
be
yeah.
all fairies and happiness. So because I noticed that if I'm going to use this deck myself, when I use the traditional one, yes, as you said, there is a figure who is like above another one, powerful, and the other one
Mm,
is submissive. And maybe that's what we need to get from the reading. Beware of the people who are going to manipulate you with money, maybe cheating boss, whatever. You need that warning. So I think even though that is not completely visible here, you can still think about that. You can still think maybe the girl, uh, I mean, wait, maybe he is, yeah, giving the music, but
mm,
maybe it means that he's also, he needs this money, as much as the poor people in the card. So he
mm,
is giving his performance happily, of course, but that
mm,
doesn't mean that he is rich. So if people would, just to say, if people would miss that poor element, you can still find it, because we know artists are not always rich. I mean, there are some of them who are successful also with the money situation. But yeah, that's the difference. What does make an artist rich? Is it the money? Or what does make an artist? Because this is a good question nowadays. Are you an artist
Mm.
if you make money out of it? Or is someone who just makes art without money less than an artist, than someone who is rich? It's a good question, that crosses my mind all the time. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can be rich, you can feel rich with or without money. And this card is about
Yeah.
that too. How much
Yeah.
value are we giving to the money thing in regarding health, for example, or just shiny, beautiful stuff? What is being rich like? Is it being superficial rich? It is
Mm.
being rich. Well, yes, but maybe you have a lot of money and then you are unhappy. So does it still make you rich? So all these
Yeah.
questions cross to my mind when I see both this card and the traditional one. It's just a response to some people who told me like, "Oh, your deck is all about happiness, but what if I need the negativity that I need to help the consultant of a reading?"
Mm.
It depends how you describe it. So yeah, it
Yeah.
can be that can still giving you negative hints that you need for a reading.
I mean, I don't think I would characterize it by saying it's all about happiness. I mean, right away, here we see, right dead center, we see the Three of Swords. You're
Yeah,
definitely
yes, that's
capturing,
the original one. It must
it's
be sad. I know.
bottom right, look at the Nine of Swords, Um, I don't think that I would say that at all. I think that you've struck the balance really, really well. And I mean, if that's the thing, people like we learn to kind of see the whole spectrum of what the card means. Um, you know, so for example, like you talked about there, the Six of Pentacles. It can be about generosity and things like that, but you can read those different things into it, and I think that that's still something that that we can get. There will be cards, and for example, the traditional Rider Waite Smith, where because they are scenic, because they are depicting something happening, they're only showing us snapshot of the entire story of that card. But that's okay. That we know that that's what we're getting when we buy into cards that are fully scenic. So no, I think I think you've done a great job depicting both the light positive side of things,
Yeah,
but also capturing that darker side. But I know exactly what you mean. Like we at the end of the day, you want your work to be uplifting to people. Do you know what I mean? Because we all go through like kind of a happier times, and we all go through times where we're feeling a bit more down. But at the end of the day, do you want that like it's like do I want my work to be lifting to people, or do I want it to drag them down? And like you say, like you want this to uplift people, or strictly, swing on the balance of uplifting people. So I completely understand, and I think you've done a great job of it. Ross, were there any other cards, particular cards that you wanted? I'm conscious of your time. We've been going for an hour and a half now, so we're going to be finishing up very soon. I just want to check, are there any other particular cards that you want to speak about that I
yeah.
can maybe
I
try
mean,
and find?
that would be still a lot actually. So maybe you tell me one, because for me, they're all full of things to describe. I would never finish here in 2 hours even. You tell me if you really want to know something, and I can tell you. So your choice,
Okay,
or
right,
if
okay,
I
let me
have a choice, I don't know if it
let me
matches.
quickly scroll through, because one of the things that I always love in a tarot deck is when I can see that something's been done a bit differently, when it's got a bit of a different spin to it. Um, so, for example, that was what drew me to the Six of Pentacles, because I could see that you'd done something a bit different. One of the other cards that I think about when I say that, and let me see if I can find it. Um, it's the Lovers card.
Ah,
So I'm
yeah,
going to try and find it whilst I'm
around
talking.
there.
But
Keep
your
scrolling.
Lovers card.
yeah, it is different, or it looks very different, but there are connections as well there. So we can talk about
Yeah,
that this when you find it,
yeah,
or I can
yeah.
already talk.
If you talk about it and I'll find it, I don't think it will take me too long
Yeah,
to find it. So you talk and I'll find it whilst you're talking.
yeah. I guess what it surprised you is that instead of two lovers and an angel, there is three lovers. We have actually, because the angel became also one of the lovers, but because
Mm.
that's what I thought. I mean, researching about this card, I thought, wait, who is the lover? Because in the Marseille tradition, it's not called the lovers plural. It's called l'amoureux, the 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 lover one. Actually, it's the one
Mhm.
who fell in love. So
Right.
my question to myself was, it could be also the angel, not only the couple, because it's one person in love. So it could be all of them. It could be the guy in the middle. I mean, I'm looking for the lovers here in the Marseille. Ah, here. So because of course, when I started to study, I studied from the Marseille.
Mm.
So many people think that the lover is the guy in the middle here, because he
Mhm.
has to make the choice. But it could also mean that they are getting married, and this is a priest.
Yeah.
Or it could also be a threesome, because this lady or man, it's not very clear what he or she is also touching the guy. There is all these hands game here. We don't know
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
the arm of whom. So also in this card, I thought it was very ambiguous. Um, and I thought for this new card in the riders. Sorry, I'm getting tired because
That's okay. New
no,
voice.
it's because the language is foreign language for me, so I get stressed after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the traditional card, there is this angel in the middle who allegedly is the angel who kicked out Adam and Eve from the Eden paradise. If you
Mhm.
just, put, yeah, the traditional one is on the right.
Oh,
And I
sorry. Yeah.
thought, do I want to stick at the Christian tradition? No, because we went over that, and I thought, it's not about Adam and Eve and God kicking them off. Love, it's something more important than that. And
Yeah.
so I wanted still to keep the symbols as always. There are like trees behind them. So again, here I used the solution of the tattoos. I think it would make sense, to put the Eden tree with apples on one of the characters' arm,
Yeah.
the girl.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
guy has the other tree with fire tongues. That I just did
Yeah.
it the same way because it's elements that you might need. While the guy in the middle, which was the angel, now it just became this person. Maybe it's a guy, maybe it's a non-binary person. It doesn't really matter here.
Mm.
Why? Because love has no gender for me. And I think,
Yeah.
I can say this. It doesn't matter if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're a transgender, if you are non binary. We're all people, persons, individuals, and we all fall in love. Thank God, it's something we do, whether we like it or not, because I like to say
Mm.
that love is like getting sick. And in a good and in a bad way, you just don't work the same way you would work before. And and in yeah, it's a bit like the death card, it strikes everything and you don't know what else is happening, and it makes the world run. It's like the engine of the world. I mean, love and sex as well, it's the engine of the world, because love spins
Yeah.
because we have sex, and we for everything, not only for giving life, but because having sex, then we get into trouble sometimes. It just spins the world around, and or you get a job or not. that shouldn't be
Yeah.
because of sex, but it also happens, you know. So yeah, I just wanted to remark that the lovers are not just Adam and Eve. It's basically anyone who falls in love, who gets sick of this amazing energy, and and also because I want this deck to be very inclusive, and it's not the only
Yeah.
card. So I thought, okay, let's put a threesome because it breaks the rules. Because yeah, there are three characters in the original cards too, and so I'm gonna keep the three of them. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe Angel. I mean, who like the angels probably love us if they exist. So I thought, let's put the angel having this love affair with this couple, and but notice that their faces. I wanted to be very expressive. They are there, but they are not looking at each other,
Yeah.
just like the original card. Each and every one of them is inside his head, and I wanted to remark that choice element of this card because we know the lover's card means to make choices. So
Mm.
they are there, and I mean, we have all been through that when we have sex with someone, maybe randomly, we met someone in a club or in a chat, because that's how we do it nowadays, isn't it? So we're not anymore introduced by our parents like in the Marseille thing. Yeah, this might be the mother saying, "This is my son. You can marry with." Yeah, I like to think about that too. No, now we
Yeah.
just come across people in the world, and then we
Yeah.
sleep with them, and then we are in their bed, and we are like, first of all, it might be also, I don't know, maybe we met them in a bar, and then we are drunk. We wake up and we see this unknown ceiling, and we're like, where am I? you know? And then you find this person, and you're like, oh, that meeting ended up here. And it's kind of, it's nice, but it's also a lot doubtful. It's like, am I going to see this person again? Does it
Mm.
matter? Maybe yes, maybe I like them, maybe I don't like them. So you have to make choices after that, and this will determine whether it's love or not. And yeah, I mean, I'm speaking a lot as usual, Chris, but
That's
I guess
perfect.
I guess you know my point with this card, what I wanted to
Yeah.
communicate, no?
Yeah. And but before we move on from this car, I just want to before I swipe to the other depictions of it. I just want to say there's nudity in this card, and I'm going to show the full version of the card. But again, I just wanted to give that bit of a disclaimer that we're going to see some explicit nudity. But I want to show it because I think it shows like you say, love has no gender or anything like that. Love is the most diverse thing in the world. So I think one of the beautiful things about this deck is the diversity that it depicts. So I think it's important to show it in its full glory, as it were. So yeah, no, I think it's amazing. I really think it is.
Thank you. I'm
And
very happy.
everyone else in the chat is agreeing.
And
Everyone's loving your work.
I'm very happy also to know that the people are loving this card, because you never know, when you show sex genitals, it's always a bit dodgy. We know. So actually, that's why I love to be an independent artist, because if
Mm,
I had to publish with a publisher, I'm sure that I would have got problems or something, like maybe not, because now publishers are also very open-minded. But I think it wouldn't be just that easy. I have to go to compromises. Probably they would say, do you really have to show the penis?
mm.
I mean,
And you would say yes, yes, I do.
yeah, like, okay, it's not the most important thing of the card, but just to put that ficus leaf, you know what I mean? It's so disturbing because it is like, we don't have to show this. Why? Like, we all get up in the morning and watch ourselves in the mirror or our partners, or it's so normal to be naked. But yeah, we live in a world where nipples can still be a problem. I mean, women's nipples can be a problem for
Yeah,
some.
I know.
And so yeah, this is another reason why I will probably stick at the self-publishing thing for a while as well. I want to be free,
Yeah,
and I don't.
yeah,
So I'm happy
definitely.
that people like this card. Uh, that maybe some other people will think that it's a little bit daring, showing genitals and showing also the scars of the. Somebody told me you were brave because showing a trans man with the scars on the surgery here on the chest.
Yeah, the top
Yes,
surgery scars.
there are people, and we live in a world where now these things are not taboo anymore, and
Mm.
I like that people can feel represented also by something that normally wouldn't. Oh, if can I say also very briefly, because I know we
Of
don't have so
course.
much. The my
Mhm.
five of wands. I don't know if you noticed. I it's the five of wands with the people fighting. I
Okay.
translated that with some people doing sport, some
Yeah.
hockey guys, and they are um, um, sorry, pass me the term. Yeah, like people without legs. How do you call it in
Ah,
English?
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe not everyone
Amputees.
noticed that. Yeah, paraplegic, tetraplegic, I think is the word.
I'm I'm
And
not sure what the correct term is, I'll be honest. But I know what you're
tetraplegic.
getting at. I'll show you the card here.
Yeah, it's also on Instagram. I think yeah, you found it. So maybe it's not super clear because one guy has the legs, the other ones have it, but they are in this little, if you have ever watched hockey on ice, Paralympics of hockey on ice, yeah, there are people on wheelchairs and there are also people on this little
Mhm.
skate thingy. So I
Yeah.
thought that the five of wands, of course, it's about fights. I thought, let's put some brave people who are not stopped even by their own limits of the body. They
Yeah.
have these red ones on their hands and they're having fun training and challenging themselves. So I thought that was perfect because I didn't want to put a bunch of kids fighting with sticks again. you know? I
Yeah.
could have done that, but the, this is a card about challenge, so it couldn't just be children playing or
Yeah.
people really
No,
fighting
it's
with shoot guns. That would have been also not what I wanted to show, because I thought of the
yeah,
solution.
yeah.
People with shoot guns, no, no way. Even if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
boys, I don't want to put another tattoo of people fighting on people's arms. So then I had this brilliant idea just watching the TV, and I thought, okay, let's put the paraplegic guys because they are brave and they are still doing what they want to do. And it's the perfect example of my version of my uh, the five of wands. I think maybe the colors. I don't like the colors in this one. I don't know why in the end the colors could have been better. Maybe because the ice, you couldn't do it the ice differently than gray. I couldn't do it. But in the
I think
end,
the colours are amazing.
you like it?
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. Because at the beginning I was like, maybe I have to redo this card for the colors. But in the end, I left it this way.
Yeah. It's another one of those cards, Ross, where you've managed to capture. So if like a lot of us will read the Five of Wands as like a big fight, like a situation that isn't productive. And you can, if you wanted to get that from this card, you could say, maybe they're not working together as a team or whatever. But also the idea of bringing like, not just conflict, but competition,
Yeah,
challenge, sport, a healthy kind of Five of Wands type energy,
exactly.
where
In
people are
sports,
burning off
also,
energy.
yeah, sorry, I'm speaking about. Yeah, exactly. Like
It's good.
they are one against each other, but not because they want to kill themselves.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do not
exactly.
hate in this card. So sport is perfect for this because we all love sport. I guess everyone loves
Yeah,
sport because it's
yeah,
a healthy competition and challenge.
yeah. And it's really nice as well. So you're talking about how you've depicted the amputees. There can be this tendency when we're depicting people of different abilities and tarot cards to use certain cards for these people. We've all seen decks where, for example, like the chariot is used for someone in a wheelchair, or sometimes where it's kind of a whereas in this card, this is a card that's all about movement and action and things are happening. Do you know what I mean? So you're depicting these people and showing, like in that light where they are active, they are moving, they're doing something that I probably couldn't do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what?
Which I think
The
is
risk,
a
the
welcome
risk
change.
when did this card was like, are people going to think that they're going to break their neck? Because he
Right.
said, yeah, sometimes the chariot on a wheelchair. Yeah, it's an amazing idea, but we also have to think the other way around. Is the consultant going to think that they're going to have an accident? Because that's
Right.
so that is a
Yeah.
limit,
Yeah.
and you have to explain. Of course not. It's just a symbol that I use as a challenge. Just as much as death card doesn't mean that you're gonna die, it's just a symbology. So people should
Yeah.
not be scared that this means that they are going to be amputees. It's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
the other way around. It shows that even though you might already be someone, yeah, someone amputee. I don't know if it's a noun. Um, yeah, it means it's not a big problem because it's not about that. You can be striving. Actually, we even have one more reason to strive and to show the world that you are a fighter. And
Yeah.
yeah, we could talk about this
Definitely.
forever, but maybe
I
we
know.
have to return to the track. And maybe, what do you think about speaking about the crowdfunding? 1 second, because it's still
Yeah,
live.
of course. Of course. So that was what I wanted to do next. I wanted you to tell us. So I'll pop a link in the chat with a link to the campaign. But you tell us how we can support this project.
Yes, you can. As I said, the crowdfunding to publish my new voice tarot is still ongoing. 8 days left from today. It's been there for about, I think it was 45 days. I'm very happy and grateful. I will be grateful forever anyway to people who already supported, and also people who supported me this way, like you, Chris, today. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And yeah, it is still going. We are at 65%, and it's already amazing. I am so grateful because this time the cost is crazy. I know I am the first sad person in here that for 1,000 cards, this time, the previous decks I've always printed 500 per time because it was a good
Okay.
number. 500 first edition,
Yeah.
500 second edition. Now I thought my public is a little bit bigger after 6 years of this that I'm doing. So I thought, okay,
Hmm.
let's go for 1,000 copies.
Okay.
Why not? And also, it's good because I can save a little bit of money. If you print 1,000 instead of 500, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And but it's not cheap. It's just cheaper because the unfortunately the card, the paper cost increased lately, just like everything. Maybe it's the war,
Yeah.
maybe it's the speculation, maybe it's climate change as well in the trees. But it
Yeah.
is more expensive, but also because this is an important thing that maybe not everyone noticed. The cards are going to be a little bit bigger than these traditional ones, so it's something that people maybe like it or not. But I made
Hmm.
this important choice for reasons, because while the new choice tarot de Marseille was, yes, very detailed, but I drew these drawings A4. A4
Okay.
format. So the details were not crazy. For the new voice, using an iPad, that you can just make it wider and wider and wider. So the details are
Yeah.
really like tiny. So when I tried myself to print it, this small, you lose a lot of details. So I thought, okay, you know what? Let's make it a little bit bigger. It will still be shuffleable. Can I say that? Maybe I don't know. It's harder to shuffle for tiny hands, but I think there are ways also to shuffle. You don't have to always riffle shuffle. You can shuffle it in a different way. They are collection cards, so maybe some of you don't even use it for reading. Actually, bigger cards will display better. I don't know. I think it's a good idea to make them bigger so you can see all the details. But this is, of course, on the other side, it's more expensive because it's bigger. The box will be bigger. It's not going to be like this. So yeah, I know 10,000 euros is a lot to reach. And I'm so grateful we already did 6,500. It's incredible. I am going to publish anyway. This is a flexible goal. I chose it on purpose because no matter what, I'm going to publish it. But of course, if I can cover the costs with the crowdfunding, will be better because it's a lot of money. So I can still add a couple of thousand, but if we reach it, better, because it's not only the cost of the card, of the paper, it's also the taxes that will kill me. So yeah, I don't have to explain the financial problem. We all know what that means. So if you guys want to contribute not only with the deck itself, I also put some other perks. As you can see, I put my old comic from Berlin Times. It's actually a very funny comic that I made, totally handmade. This was made over 10 years ago when I was living in Berlin. So it's a little bit compromised as well because it's about crazy life in Berlin when I was younger. Of course, it's not all real. It's it's a romance. It's a novel, so there is fantasy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there are still the original paintings from the new choice that you can also purchase if you want one of these in your collection, art collection, and they're on discount of just 100. No, sorry. Yeah, 100 euros each instead of 120 that I used to sell them. So stop me, Chris, because I will speak forever, please. We will never leave, and people need to go to sleep or to eat.
Yeah, I think it's no, I think it's important that you're able to, say your piece about, like the funding. And if I can just add as well, so Ross has been doing this for 4 years, guys. So think of the amount of time that Ross has personally invested into creating this deck. So yeah, it's important that money is raised for, for the actual production of it, for the taxes, for everything else, for the shipping, etc. But for me on the other side of it, as an enjoyer of your work, it's kind of important to me to see that you're actually being fairly compensated for your work as well. So that's why I wanted to reach out and kind of do this. And absolutely, your thanks aren't necessary. This is a treat for me. This is my pleasure having you on here and being able to chat to you about it. So I want to say thank you very much to you because an hour. Oh gosh, that's about 2 hours we've been going for now. So 2 hours talking to a Scottish guy, in a different language. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time, and just everything that you've done. All of the work that you've put into this. And I'm cannot wait to get my copy of the deck. So no, thank you, Ross. Everyone in the chat, thank you guys for being here. It's been great to have, it was a wee bit quieter, but, there's still been a fair few people here. So thanks very much for joining me, or for joining us, I should say. It's been great to see so many faces here. Um, the links in the chat. So, if you want to even have a look at the Indiegogo campaign and see, what the different options are and find out a wee bit more about the deck. I think in the description, once this goes on YouTube, in the description of the video, there will be a link to Ross's Insta. In fact, I can just put a link in the chat because I've got it here. So if you
Yes.
go onto Ross's Instagram, you'll be able to find lots and
Yeah.
lots of images and such about the deck. So definitely check it out. Here we go. Okie
But I also
dokie.
want
Well,
thank you, Chris. I say that already many times, but I am also very grateful for this opportunity. It was a pleasure to chat with you and also an opportunity to express my work with words, because yes, it should speak by itself, but I guess it's also interesting also when people can hear explained from the artist. Like if I were you, I would like to hear the artist speaking about. So I'm very happy that you gave me this opportunity on your channels, and I want to thank all the people that are online right now and the people that are going to watch this on YouTube whenever it is now.
yeah,
And yeah, hopefully by the time that this is published, you will have the deck already shuffling in your hands, and to leave my legacy to the world of
yeah,
my art. I'm very excited, and I can't wait to that it becomes a reality.
yeah. Oh, thank you again, Ross. Thank you for joining me. Thank you everyone for being
The
here.
time is yours.
Um, we can leave. Is there just quickly before we go? Was there anything else that you wanted to say? Anything else you wanted to kind of put out there and let everyone know about, or do you think we've covered everything?
Sorry, I didn't get anything of what?
Is there anything else you want to say to people? Is there anything else you want to let people
Oh,
know
anything
about,
else?
or
I think you
just
said everything. I just thanked
excellent?
everyone, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to be alive. I don't know what else to say.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you again, Ross. Thank you to everyone. Ross, if you just stay there, I'll end the live and we can have a quick chat to wrap up. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Take care, and we will see you all later. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.